So, um, this is it's the 8th, 2019, December 19th, um, 2018, around 10:30 p.m. I am going to continue reading the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Um, so kind of. I'm going to continue this. This is the second one. I'm going to read the first chapter and kind of emotionally uh, spent. So uh, I was working on some art music stuff. So, but I wanted to get this done because I got to work in the morning. And this is, I want to get through this book. So, let's continue. So, domestication and the dream of the planet. What you are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. You are dreaming right now, in this moment. You are dreaming with the brain awake. Dreaming is the main function of the mind, and the mind dreams 24 hours a day. It dreams when the brain is awake, and it also dreams when the brain is asleep. The difference is that when the brain is awake, there is a material frame that makes us perceive things in a linear way. When we go to sleep, we do not have the frame, and the dream has a tendency to change constantly. Humans are dreaming all the time. Before we were born, the humans before us created a big outside dream that we will call society's dream or the dream of the planet. The dream of the planet is a collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams, which together create a dream of a family, a dream of a community, a dream of a city, a dream of a country, and finally a dream of the whole humanity. That's pretty good, I think. The dream of the planet includes all society's rules, its beliefs, its laws, its religions, its different cultures and ways to be, its governments, schools, social events, and holidays. We are born with the capacity to learn how to dream, and the humans who lived before us teach us how to dream the way society dreams. The outside dream has so many rules that when a new human is born, we hook the child's attention and introduce these rules into his or her mind. The outside dream uses mom and dad, the schools, and religion to teach us how to dream. Attention is the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on what we want to perceive. We can perceive millions of things simultaneously, but using our attention, we can hold whatever we want to perceive in the foreground of our mind. The adults around us hooked our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. This is the way we learned everything we know. By using our attention, we learned a whole reality, a whole dream. We learned how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what is good and what is bad, what is beautiful and what is ugly, and what is right and what is wrong. It was all there already, all that knowledge, all those rules and concepts about how to behave in the world. When you were in school, you sat in a little chair and put your attention on what the teacher was teaching you. When you went to church, you put your attention on what the priest or minister was telling you. In the same dynamic with mom and dad, brothers and sisters, they were all trying to hook your attention. We also learn to hook the attention of other humans, and we develop a need for attention which can become very competitive. Children compete for the attention of their parents, their teachers, and their friends. Look at me, look at what I'm doing. Hey, I'm here. The need for attention becomes very strong and continues into adulthood. The outside dream hooks our attention and teaches us what to believe, beginning with the language that we speak. Language is the code for understanding and communication between humans. Every letter, every word in each language is an agreement. We call this page in a book. The word page is an agreement that we understand. I hope you guys are getting this because this is good. Once we understand the code, our attention is hooked and the energy is transferred from one person to another. It was not your choice to speak English. You didn't choose your religion or your moral values. They were already there before you were born. We never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. We never chose even the smallest of these agreements. We didn't even choose our own name. When I first read this, it's almost kind of like the first time I'm reading it again, but that concept right there is an interesting concept because it's true. We're born with the name in this society, and who knows, maybe most of them are, if not all. What's interesting is sometimes culture will wait to give you a name when they find out your personality and you become talking and moving around in the world, and then they'll give you a suitable name that reflects who you are. But the idea that you don't get to choose your name is pretty interesting. And even the idea that when a word page was created before we got here. And so I like this because it's true. Everything that we are born into, we have to learn how to fit into what already was. And for us that's already been here for a while, and people before us understand and have learned that the world that we are in is not a perfect world. Like it could be worse, but it could be better. There's a lot of ways that it could be better, and that's what the thing is. Like that's interesting because a lot of us want to change the world when we're already here, when our life is half over. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any answer to that, but that's an interesting concept. Okay. As children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but we agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet via other humans. The only way to store information is by agreement. The outside dream may hook our attention, but if we don't agree, we don't store that information. As soon as we agree, we believe it, and this is called faith. To have faith is to believe unconditionally. I don't know about that one, but okay. That's how we learn as children. Children believe everything adults say. That's kind of true. We agree with them, and our faith is so strong that the belief system controls our whole dream of life. We didn't choose these beliefs, and we may have rebelled against them, but we were not strong enough to win the rebellion. We want to stay up and watch TV all night. Anyway. The results of surrender to the belief with our agreement. I call this process the domestication of humans. And through this domestication, we learn how to live and how to dream. In human domestication, the information from the outside dream is conveyed to the inside dream, creating our whole belief system. First, the child is taught the names of things: mom, dad, milk, bottle. Day by day at home, at school, at church, and from television, we are told how to live and kind of behavior is acceptable. The outside dream teaches us how to be human, be a human. We have a whole concept of what a woman is and what a man is. And we also learn to judge. We judge ourselves, judge other people, judge the neighbors. Children are domesticated the same way that we domesticate a dog, a cat, or any other animal. In order to teach a dog, we punish the dog and we give it rewards. We train our children whom we love so much the same way that we train any domesticated animal, with a system of punishment and reward. We are told you're a good boy or you're a good girl when we do what mom and dad wants us to do. When we don't, we are a bad girl or a bad boy. When we went against the rules, we were punished. When we went along with the rules, we got a reward. We were punished many times a day, and we were also rewarded many times a day. That's true. I didn't think about that. Soon we became afraid of being punished and also afraid of not receiving the reward. The reward is the attention that we got from our parents or from other people like siblings, teachers, and friends. We soon developed a need to hook other people's attention in order to get the reward. So this is interesting because the parents or the family or the people before us learned, already, so they're teaching us things that we learned. So me as a parent, when I scold my child or reward my child for behavior that I want them to learn, I feel that it's for their own good. Don't go break stuff or clean your room, brush your teeth. So that's interesting. The reward feels good, and we keep doing what others want us to do in order to get the reward, with that fear of being punished and that fear of not getting the reward. I mean, I could think of so many times where I got punished, for fighting with my brother or dropping food on the floor, or whatever, making a mess, being loud, whatever it is. The reward feels good, and we keep doing what others want us to do to get the reward. With that fear of being punished and that fear of not getting the reward, we start pretending to be what we are not, just to please others, just to be good enough for someone else. We try to please mom and dad, we try to please the teachers at school, we try to please the church, and so we start acting. We pretend to be what we are not because we are afraid of being rejected. The fear of being rejected becomes a fear of not being good enough. Eventually we become someone that we are not. We become a copy of mama's beliefs, daddy's beliefs, society's beliefs, and religion's beliefs. That's kind of iffy because I don't think people fully give up who they are to fit into the world. At least I don't think I did. But but then again, who knows? All our normal tendencies are lost in the process of domestication. And when we are old enough for our mind to understand, we learn the word no. The adults say, don't do this and don't do that. We rebel and say no. We rebel because we are defending our freedom. We want to be ourselves, but we are very little, and the adults are big and strong. That's true. After a certain time, we are afraid because we know that every time we do something wrong, we are going to be punished. That's what I get from this is, I don't know if I had really strict parents, but in school, like that was the way it was. Like when your teacher tells you to stop talking to your friend, or why didn't you sharpen your pencil, or you can't go to the bathroom, or you didn't do your homework, or getting punished for things that maybe you don't agree with, or really, really don't agree with. Like I think most of school is like that. You really want to just have a good time and have fun and run around and and play with your friends, but you don't get to, and I think that is very very true. Because if we all hung out at school as kids and got to do what we want, school would be a lot different than what it is. The domestication is so strong that at a certain point in our life, we no longer need anyone to domesticate us. We don't need mom or dad, the school, or the church to domesticate us. We are so well trained that we are our own domesticator. We are also auto-domesticated animals. We can now domesticate ourselves. According to the same belief system we are given and using the same system of punishment and reward, we punish ourselves when we don't follow the rules according to our belief system. We reward ourselves that when we are the good boy or good girl. That's true. Like getting up in the morning and going to school is not something that we normally want to do, but then we end up getting good grades and we feel good. The belief system is like a book of law that rules our mind. Without question, whatever it is, the book of law is our truth. We base all of our judgments according to the book of law, even if these judgments go against our own inner nature. Even moral laws like the Ten Commandments are programmed into our mind in the process of domestication. One by one, all these agreements go into the book of law, and these agreements rule our dream. There is something in our minds that judges everybody and everything, including the weather, the dog, the cat, everything. The inner judge uses what is the book of law to judge everything we do and don't do, everything we think and don't think, and everything we feel and don't feel. Everything lives under the tyranny of this judge. Every time we do something that goes against the book of law, the judge says we are guilty. We need to be punished. We should be ashamed. This happens many times a day, day after day, for all the years of our lives. There is another part of us that receives the judgments, and this part is called the victim. Hold on, before I go into it. So, the book of law, so that is interesting because the Ten Commandments and the teachings of religion is something that is good but taught. Like it's weird because you can go through different societies and see there's things that we all agree on as a humanity, but then there's also things that are cultural that maybe that differentiate between depending on where you live and who and what society teaches you. So that is something that is true, even if you agree with it or don't. The fact that we get taught our morals and whatnot through our religious beliefs. There is another part of us that receives the judgments, and this part is called the victim. The victim carries the blame, the guilt, and the shame. It is a part of us that says, "Poor me, I'm not good enough. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not worthy of love. Poor me." The big judge agrees and says, "Yes, you are not good enough." And this is all based on a belief system that we never chose to believe. These beliefs are so strong that even years later, when we are exposed to new concepts and try to make our own decisions, we find that these beliefs still control our lives. Man, that's true. It goes deep because can't you can't really separate yourself from your belief system, because pretty much your belief system is who you are, and the fact that your belief system was given to you or taught to you or through, like you said, every day for your whole life. So, yeah. Whatever goes against the book of law will make you feel a funny sensation in your solar plexus. It's called fear. Breaking the rules of the book of law opens your emotional wounds, and your reaction is to create emotional poison. Because everything that is in the book of law has to be true. Anything that challenges what you believe is going to make you feel unsafe. Even if the book of law is wrong, it makes you feel safe. What's interesting with that is like Pluto, and then learning that Pluto was not a planet. It's a meteor or whatever. That's interesting by itself, like, because I was taught that Pluto was a planet, and then when they said it wasn't, I was like, what? And I still think, like, well, I consider it a planet. I don't know what they think, but so I'm gonna die thinking that Pluto is a planet, even if it wasn't. And even the idea that there is a Pluto out there, like I never seen it really, um, is taught, and so with the sciences, and so when you look at history, it's interesting because history teaches, we learn that people thought the sun or the Earth was the center of the galaxy or the universe, and then people were like, oh, I guess not. It's not. The sun is actually, and then whatever we're going to learn next, is going to change. But we, as the people that learn, like the sun is the center of the universe or our galaxy, and then if we find out that it isn't, then that's going to be really weird for us to accept. So, I mean, it's pretty deep stuff, even if, like, sounds kind of weird, like, at least it makes you think. Um, and that's kind of why I like this book in general. Like, there's actually some other stuff that I liked about it, like some normal, like this is the bigger concepts of, like, the universe and how we fit, things uh, that is an idea that we might be wrong, which is a challenge to us, in our society and everything that we've ever known, to think that even there's a chance that we didn't have a choice in who we are. But there's some other stuff that actually in this book that's like, ooh, that's awesome. So I think with learning, it's important to kind of just hear what the person has to say, but you don't have to agree with everything. But kind of give them a chance to to see what they have to say, to challenge what you believe. So that is why we need a great deal of courage to challenge our own beliefs. Because even if we know we didn't choose all these beliefs, it is also true that we agreed to all of them. The agreement is so strong that even if we understand the concept of it not being true, we feel the blame, the guilt, and the shame that occur if we go against these rules. Now, that's interesting because I've lived in the culture's changed since I was a kid to where we're at today, as far as, like, pop culture and mainstream culture. Like, there's a lot of things that people wouldn't. It wasn't allowed before. Now it is allowed. Like cussing on TV. Now it's kind of normal. Um, Marijuana was super illegal. Now it's kind of not as illegal as it used to. Like, everybody, it's kind of normal. There's stores with it and stuff. So that's interesting. That's really interesting. How even as in my own life, there's things that have completely changed, just because everyone agreed on it, I guess. Okay, so that is why just as the government has a book of laws that rule the society's dream, our belief system is the book of law that rules our personal dream. All these laws exist in our mind. We believe them, and the judge inside us bases everything on these rules. The judge decrees, and the victim suffers the guilt and punishment. But who says there is justice in this dream? True justice is paying only once for each mistake. True injustice is paying more than once for each mistake. How many times do we pay for one mistake? The answer is thousands of times. The human is the only animal on earth that pays 1,000 times for the same mistake. The rest of the animals pay once for every mistake they make, but not us. We have a powerful memory. We make a mistake. Okay, I just saw this. I'm gonna put this perspective just because it's fresh on my mind. I just saw a Facebook video thing on an ex-girlfriend and a guy. He's like, when you see your ex and stuff. And so the girl's like, got a new boyfriend, and he's like, what? At first he's like, yeah, whatever, whatever, and then he sees her with her boyfriend, then he's all heartbroken. But it's funny because that idea, say, you could put it into play where um, if you relive a moment or relationship, you can you feel that, you can feel it. And so I just finished up some music stuff, and it's about an old relationship, and I kind of transported in time, and had to you think about my love for someone that I'm no longer with for it's been a while already. But yet I made music about it, so I had to kind of relive it, and it's like and I keep questioning myself, like, why, it's unhealthy kind of to keep like, say, when musicians play a song, you have to be emotionally involved, and then when you no longer feel that, how can you play that song? Or do you? So like Adele, so she sang a song about her ex-lover, and then when she sang it live, they had not been together, and she was like, I think about you, and then she would get mad because she'd be like, I don't like that guy anymore. She was with another guy. And then so that's interesting, just because um, we do have emotional attachments that we maybe stay there too long, and our minds do that. But every time we remember, we judge ourselves again. We are guilty again. We punish ourselves again and again and again. If we have a wife or husband, he or she also reminds us of the mistake. So we can judge ourselves again, punish ourselves again, and find ourselves guilty again. Is this fair? This is too too true. Um, too true. And I think a lot of marriages and relationships do this. It ruins the relationships if you don't have a greater understanding of how to be with somebody. How many times do we make our spouse, our children, or our parents pay for the same mistake? Every time we remember the mistake, we blame them again and send them all the emotional poison we feel at the injustice. And then we make them pay again for the same mistake. Is that justice? The judge in the mind is wrong. The judge in the mind is wrong because the belief system, the book of law, is wrong. The whole dream is based on false law. 95% of the beliefs we have stored in our mind are nothing but lies, and we suffer because we believe all these lies. In the dream of the planet, it is normal for humans to suffer, to live in fear, and to create emotional dramas. The outside dream is not a pleasant dream. It is a dream of violence, a dream of fear, a dream of war, a dream of injustice. The personal dream of humans will vary, but globally it is mostly a nightmare. If we look at human society, we see a place so difficult to live in because it is ruled by fear. Throughout the world, we see human suffering, anger, revenge, addictions, violence in the street, and tremendous injustice. It may exist at different levels in different countries around the world, but fear is controlling the outside dream. What's interesting to me about this is that what was it? Where we're at with technology and whatnot, like with Facebook and social media, like I see this way too much. And you could even put that in like white guilt, like when they're like, that wasn't me, that was like my great great grandparent, like. But yet it's uh, it's an interesting concept of because it seems like it's very powerful today that to live in fear, and how much we keep each other um, an old version of ourselves, or like you know with social media, and like some people, he said something 20 years ago or 50, when you're a kid, and then somebody's like, I still hate you. Um, and that holds weight. Socially, you get fired for that. You lose your job, your livelihood for something like that. And it's not seriously, like I read this like 2, 3 years, I don't know how many, more than 2 years ago, at least 3, 4 years ago, and I haven't read it again since. But man, it's just like what I do is um, those are the chains that I'm breaking, that I refuse to let them hold me, which it is still affecting my life, even though um, those chains are a thought. You know what I mean? Anyway, if we compare the dream of human society with the description of hell that religions all around the world have promulgated, we find they are exactly the same. Religions say that hell is a place of punishment, a place of fear, pain, and suffering, a place where the fire burns you. Fire is generated by emotions that come from fear. Wherever we feel the emotions of anger, jealousy, envy, or hate, we experience a fire burning within us. We are living in a dream of hell. This is interesting because I make art and I make music, and when I make our stories or anything, I create, and people still like look at my artwork and songs, and they're like, and they feel like I just made them or something, or that they reference in them their own perspective, and and it's, so I'm putting things out there in the world that like people, um, it might be new to them, but it's way old work for me. But so I already moved past that work, but yet people still, you know, view my life in the work. So it's a catch-22. Um, if you consider hell as a state of mind, then hell is all around us. Because I put my pain and my love and my heart in my art, and so it's very personal when somebody reacts to that. Others may warn us that if we don't do what they say we should do, we will go to hell. Bad news, we are already in hell, including the people who tell us that. No human can condemn another to hell because we are already there. Others can put us in a deeper hell, true, but only if we allow this to happen. Every human has his or her own personal dream, and this is like the society dream. It is often ruled by fear. We learn to dream hell in our own life, in our own personal dream. The same fears manifest in different ways for each person. Of course, but we experience anger, jealousy, hate, envy, and other negative emotions. Our personal dream can also become an ongoing nightmare where we suffer and live in a state of fear. But we don't need to dream a nightmare. It is possible to enjoy a pleasant dream. All of humanity is searching for truth, justice, and beauty. We are on an eternal search for the truth because we only believe in the lies we have stored in our mind. We are searching for justice because in the belief system we have, there is no justice. We search for beauty because it doesn't matter how beautiful a person is, we don't believe that person has beauty. We keep searching and searching when everything is already within us. There is no truth to find. Wherever we turn our heads, all we see is the truth. But with the agreements and beliefs we have stored in our mind, we have no eyes for this truth. We don't see the truth because we are blind. What blinds us are all those false beliefs that we have in our mind. We have the need to be right and make others wrong. Wow. We trust what we believe, and our beliefs set us up for suffering. It is as if we live in the middle of a fog that doesn't let us see any further than our own nose. We live in a fog that is not even real. The fog is a dream, the personal dream of life. And I believe that that is true. The fog is not the reality. And that sometimes that's all we see is the fog. With all this fighting and pain and suffering and how people with all the wars and everything going on, it's like, man, like, I know there's a better way that we could have a better world, but yet everybody's looking at the fog, or a lot of people only see the fog, and they don't see what we could have, or what we are really, what we really are, which is the children of God. What you believe, all concepts you have about what you are, all the agreements you have made with others, with yourself, and even with God. Your whole mind is a fog, which the Toltecs called a mitote, pronounced mitote. Your mind is a dream where 1,000 people talk at the same time, and nobody understands each other. This is a condition of the human mind, a big mitote. And with that big mitote, you cannot see what you really are. And in India, they call the mitote Maya, which means illusion. It is the personality's notion of I am. Everything you believe about yourself and the world, all the concepts and programming you have in your mind are all the mitote. We cannot see who we truly are. We cannot see that we are not free. That is why humans resist life. To be alive is the biggest fear humans have. Death is not the biggest fear we have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive. The risk is to be alive and express what we really are. Just being ourselves is the biggest fear of humans. We have learned to live in our life trying to satisfy other people's demands. We have learned to live by other people's points of view because of the fear of not being accepted and not being good enough for someone else. During the process of domestication, we form an image of what perfection is in order to try to be good enough. We create an image of how we should be in order to be accepted by everybody. You know what's weird is that this rings really true for Facebook, And I know I put a lot of stuff on Facebook and all this stuff, but I see that, in a lot of us. And now that's as social media has become so powerful in our daily lives. Our image that we put out into the digital world, holds us to who whatever that image is, and who we really are. And there's a lot of smart people that don't even partake in it, whatever. But it is rampant throughout the modern society that are what we put out in the digital world is who we are. And I know I'm guilty of this. That's part of my psyche, as well as what I see in everyone I've ever known. Even those that don't because then they have a stigma. Well, why are you not on Facebook? Why are you on Facebook? So anyway, we have learned to live by other people's points of view because of the fears of not being accepted and not being good enough for someone else. During the process of domestication, we form an image of what perfection is in order to be good enough. We create an image of how we should be in order to be accepted by everybody. We especially try to please the ones who love us, like mom and dad, big brothers and sisters, the priest and the teacher. Trying to be good enough for them, we create an image of perfection, but we don't fit this image. We create this image, but this image is not real. We are never going to be perfect from this point of view. Never. That is true. Not being perfect, we reject ourselves, and the level of self-rejection depends on the effectiveness of adults we are breaking our integrity. After domestication, it is no longer about being good enough for anybody else. Okay, I'm just going to finish this page. This is all up. I'm going to read through this. It's 40 minutes. Apologize if you guys are getting bored. After domestication, it is longer about being good enough for anybody else. We are not good enough for ourselves because we don't fit with our own image of perfection. We cannot forgive ourselves for not being what we wish to be, or rather what we believe we should be. We cannot forgive ourselves for not being perfect. We know we are not what we believe we are supposed to be, and so we feel false, frustrated, and dishonest. We try to hide ourselves, and we pretend to be what we are not. The result is that we feel unauthentic and wear social masks to keep others from noticing this. We are so afraid that somebody else will notice that we are not what we pretend to be. We judge others according to our image of perfection as well, and naturally they fall short of our expectations. What's weird is other people hold images of us, and we have our own image of ourselves, of course, but other people's images of us, whether positive or negative, um, have weight in the fact that that they could challenge you. Somebody else says something negative about you, and you're like, what? And you're like, you have to either accept it or not accept it. But it um, it's a revelation sometimes when someone's like, oh man, you're greedy, or oh man, you're selfish, and you're like, what? I felt unselfish, and but they're speaking only from a part of from their perspective, and nobody truly knows the whole you. Um, and then it goes to the place of, do you even know the whole you? And then, um, and that's the interesting thing with like say a mask. Like if you have, because okay, so for me, it's been like uh, I've heard a lot of comments from other people and judgments from other people, and most of them like like what. So I've been having this fight for a long time with the outside world, and and at the same time, I felt like my privacy has um, been been broken, and too many people know my business, and strangers and whatnot. It's like what? And so I'm in the extreme version of of being feeling judged or um, feeling so as an artist, you put yourself out there, and people will judge you. And, say Justin Bieber, like how many people can tell you who you are? Like you're Justin Bieber, and then they want to nitpick everything that you do. Beyonce, or Trump, even, and even like say Tupac. Like you have a version of Tupac, but is that the real guy that you know? So even if they're not acting, not actors or whatever, but the people and the that a lot of people judge, you're receiving a lot of energy from a lot of different people, and sometimes that is overwhelming and can make you change, um, be very defensive. But so this to me, it's pretty interesting, and I think everybody can feel that on Facebook. Somebody you put your political beliefs out there, you say, hey, I don't, I'm a Democrat or I'm whatever, and then they're like, oh, and then half your friends or family or acquaintances are like say stuff opposite of what you think or whatever, or so you get defensive about it, whatever it is. We dishonor ourselves just to please other people. We even do harm to our physical bodies just to be accepted by others. You see teenagers taking drugs just to avoid being rejected by other teenagers. They are not aware that the problem is that they don't accept themselves. They reject themselves because they are not what they pretend to be. They wish to be a certain way, but they are not. And for this, they carry shame and guilt. Humans punish themselves endlessly for not being what they believe they should be. They become very abusive, and they use other people to abuse themselves as well. But nobody abuses us more than we abuse ourselves, and it is the judge, the victim, and the belief system that makes us do this. True, we find people who say their husbands or wives or mothers or fathers abuse them, but you know that we abuse ourselves much more than that. The way we judge others is the worst judge that ever existed. If we make a mistake in front of people, we try to deny the mistake and cover it up. But we soon, but as soon as we are alone, the judge becomes so strong, the guilt is so strong, and we feel so stupid, or so bad, or so unworthy. So for myself, like like I keep saying, in my personal blogs or drama blogs, I've already been thrown out, and so it's true. As far as uh, I personally don't live there. Other people keep wanting to take me to try to magnify my mistakes to judge me or whatever. It feels that way, and it really does. I'm in a weird situation, but I think that goes for everybody in general. Um, as far as like denying stuff and whatever, um, guilty. I've been learning a lot, and this is part of it. But there was also, yeah, I always had an understanding that when the popular kids don't accept you or you're not cool enough. So I've never had that hold me too much, but I do have to have a haircut that is acceptable by other people, or else I would actually probably have a different hairdo. But so to live in judgment or to satisfy other people or to so there's a mixture of that we all have to deal with, I think. In that. Okay, so in your whole life, there's one more page. In your whole life, nobody has ever abused you more than you have abused yourself. And the limit of your self-abuse is exactly the limit that you will tolerate from someone else. If someone abuses you a little more than you abuse yourself, you will probably walk away from that person. But if someone abuses you a little less than you abuse yourself, you will probably stay in the relationship and tolerate it endlessly. If you abuse yourself very badly, you can even tolerate someone who beats you up, humiliates you, and treats you like dirt. Why? Because in your belief system you say, I deserve it. This person is doing me a favor by being with me. I'm not worthy of love and respect. I'm not good enough. Okay, so let me go on. There's a paragraph left. But so I know people that do have low self-esteem or do tolerate. Like I'm tolerating stuff personally because um, I'm in a fight. So I don't think it was something, life. You go through life. You have a relationship with someone that is not good, but you don't agree with them, and so you guys are fighting, but you guys still have to be in the same place. And so there's that where sometimes circumstances don't let you continue with your road, but then but it's not giving up to other people. So the abuse thing, like if you're in a relationship, I've cut plenty of relationships off that I was like, okay, this person being again way messed up. Excuse my language and cussing, but so you leave them, but you stay there sometimes because there's benefits, but also um, you're, like say you're in love with somebody and then they don't treat you right, so you're like whatever, and I'm out of here, but you can't leave, but then you leave eventually. So that's kind of loving yourself more than someone abusing you, like they said. But then if somebody abuses you, but you still tolerate it because you have to, um, like a job. Say you're in a job and you need to have money and you need to make money, but you tolerate it because you need to get to the next stage and you need money. Right? We all have to deal with the money thing. So sometimes I think there's a time limit on this. You can't just go fight everybody. But again, I don't know. Who knows? Like, there's always that choice to walk away from something that is not good for you. But so who knows? So okay, last paragraph from this section. And it says, I was testing to see how long okay. We need to be accepted and be loved by others, but we cannot accept and love ourselves. The more self-love we have, the less we experience self-abuse. Self-abuse comes from self-rejection, and self-rejection comes from having an image of what it means to be perfect and never measuring up to that ideal. Our image of perfection is the reason we reject ourselves. It is why we don't accept ourselves the way we are, and why we don't accept others the way we are. And this is interesting because, say if you're a beautiful woman and you go through school and people hate you because you're way good looking, and the other girls are jealous because all the guys like you and they abuse you. So, and then that stays with you, and it could ruin you. Or like Janis Joplin, she left her town and she became famous or whatever, and singer, did her dream, and she kind of got to the place where she was like, man, the okay. It's interesting just because you have to fight, man. You have to fight in this world to become your true version of who you are. But then there's also things that you might always have to deal with. So I don't know, like if you're weak, you've been weak, and you get picked on, and you become strong, but then you still don't use your strengths when you might want to use it. That could be because of what's in your head, But some people get out of that, they learn how to get strong. So it is important to have self-esteem, true self-esteem, not fake self-esteem, but to better yourself, little by little, and so that you do become strong, and because you will attract what you put in the world, and if you think lowly of yourself, you will attract that. If you accept it, that will become your life. So I like what that is saying, all this stuff. I'm sorry that I'm intervening, but this is part of the video. I'm going to read a couple more pages because that's the end of the chapter. Prelude to a New Dream. There are thousands of agreements that you have made with yourself, with other people, with your dream of life, with God, with society, with your parents, with your spouse, with your children. But the most important agreements are the ones you make with yourself. In these agreements, you tell yourself who you are, what you feel, what you believe, and how you behave. The result is what you call your personality. In these agreements, you say, this is what I am. This is what I believe. I can do certain things, and some things I cannot do. This is reality. That is fantasy. This is possible. That is impossible. One single agreement is not such a problem, but we have many agreements that makes us suffer. That makes us fail in life. If you want to live a life of joy and fulfillment, you have to find the courage to break those agreements. This is the best. This is one of the best parts of the book of what I agree with, like readjusting your mind, refixing the things that are stopping you from becoming your true self. You have to find the courage to break those agreements that are fear-based and claim your personal power. The agreements that come from fear require us to expend a lot of energy. But the agreements that come from love help us to conserve energy and even gain extra strength. Now tell me, how many of us need that extra strength just to get through life? Like none of us have it easy. I'm not putting myself as a special. I learned how to fight. We all have to fight, and so that energy, and it's not fight like be angry or nothing. It's actually just survive and become the true version of the best version of ourselves, and that does for each one of us require us to really go inside of who we are and to realize that love will help us conserve energy and gain extra energy, which we need every day, right? Each of us is born with a certain amount of personal power that we rebuild every day after we rest. Unfortunately, we spend all our personal power first to create all of these agreements and then to keep these agreements. Our personal power is dissipated by all the agreements we have created, and the result is that we feel powerless. We have just enough power to survive each day because most of us is used to keep the agreements that trap us in the dream of the planet. How can we change the entire dream of our life when we have no power to change even the smallest agreement? If we can see it in our agreements which rule our life, and we don't like the dream of our life, we need to change the agreements. When we are finally ready to change our agreements, there are 4 very powerful agreements that will help us break those agreements that come from fear and deplete our energy. Each time you break an agreement, all the power you use to create it returns to you. If you adopt these 4 new agreements, they will create enough personal power for you to change the entire system of your old agreements. You need a very strong will in order to adopt the 4 agreements. But if you can begin to live your life with these agreements, the transformation in your life will be amazing. You will see the drama of hell disappear right before your eyes. Instead of living in a dream of hell, you will be creating a new dream, your personal dream of heaven. And the thing with when it uses these words, hell and heaven, it's not, I don't think it's trying to go through the Bible and say this is different than the Bible. I think this book didn't get me to there. Like, it didn't dispute the Bible. It was, it's kind of a self-help book, but it has, like, it's really good. So just for the people that maybe some of these words are kind of like, hey, you would. I don't think it's not a religion. It's not going into religion. It's just a belief. Like, it's kind of like science. Like, when it gets into it, it does talk about words, how powerful words are. So I don't see it as a threat to Christianity and stuff. Even though some people, just because it's saying Toltec and stuff. So I'm almost to an hour. I would probably talk a little bit more, but hope you guys watch this. Hope it helped. You know, you can buy the book and read it yourself, but I'm just intervening and talking so that I have an understanding for those of you that are walking with me. Trying to show you some things that I've learned in my life that are very good and really are important for everybody. You know, like, man, it gets better. Like, this is just the beginning. I even forgot most of what he said, but it leads up to some very important, fundamentally important things of how we talk to ourselves and how we talk to others and how we relate to the world and how to relate to other people better. And, so if you're reading it or you're watching these and listening to what the book is saying and whatnot, I think it can help everybody really. So, like I said, it's not a religion; it's just a book. So, 4 Agreements, good book, 58 minutes. Hope you guys did good. And you got Yoda right here, Tupac right there, and those are kind of they're good. They're I can't think of the word now, but that's a good guys to read the book with. All right, people. Hope you had a good one. Talk to you guys soon.